right, welcome to National Signing Day Part 1, where hope springs eternal across the country. I think it's no different here at Mississippi State and at Starkville. Certainly very excited to add 14 new members to our program. I think first and foremost, the most important aspect of it to me is, the celebration of this day for our incoming players and their parents. The combination of a life's worth of work in the classroom and on the field to be rewarded with the opportunity to play in an SEC West program. I can't say enough for the parents entrusting us to help build on the fine work that they've done and making sure that they leave here in 4 to 5 years a better student, a better person, a better player in that order. So definitely indebted to the families and the young men for their belief in us, our vision, our program, our culture, and where we can get them. And certainly want to thank all the people who go into the very cumbersome and sometimes tedious task of putting a recruiting class together that spans well over 2 years, sometimes 3 years. And I think last year you guys were all waiting as I thanked everyone from President Keenum down to the person who flew the plane. I'm not going to go through all of them individually this year for the sake of brevity, but they are all very much appreciated. And Coach Villagrana and his staff in the recruiting department, for organizing the plan and putting it together. Our assistant coaches for seeing the kids, making evaluations, getting to know the high school coaches, the families, the players, building and cultivating relationships. And certainly our administration will give us a tremendous amount of support to do the things that we do. And for how well we've been received in the state of Mississippi by the high school coaches is really humbling to me. And going on to, well, I guess a full calendar year in the state now, I've really felt that I've been made one of their own, that they welcomed me with open arms, and certainly extended into our footprint area and nationally. I think the brand of Mississippi State football and our vision and what we can do for young men in our program, and I think the results show in the guys we've been able to sign. Certainly you look at it, very good balance in the 14 signees, 8 offense, 6 defense, 8 from the great state of Mississippi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from our footprint, and 1 from our national area. And like I said, every year you're looking to add size, speed, strength, athleticism, and playmaking ability to your roster. And obviously depth issues, play a large part into that. But overall, I think we addressed all those areas, and couldn't be more happy to have these young men into our program. So, Fred, I think I cut that down by about 15 minutes from last year.
Something like that.
I saw you had a stopwatch on. All right, any questions?
Questions? We'll get a mic to you, Brandon, as well. David.
Again, without going through all the names like you mentioned, how would you compare the haste of trying to get last year's signing class finalized to having a whole year to work on this one?
Yeah, I don't even know that you can, make a comparison. I was hired, a couple of days after Thanksgiving, maybe that next week, and then in those next, 3 weeks, we're working to put a staff together, figure out who the commitments are, where they go to school, what position they play, the reasons they chose Mississippi State, and then working to get into the schools and into the homes to talk to them about, our vision, our goal, our plans, and that was, that was definitely something that required a lot of work and effort to forge relationships in a very small amount of time. And like I said, at a certain time, talking to a kid who's going to play offense, who the coordinator is going to be, or defense, not know who the defense coordinator is going to be. I think this year the difference is, we've been working on, creating those relationships and doing those things over a year's period of time. Now it's been in conjunction with bowl preparation, but I think it's night and day from last year to this year.
A lot of numbers on both lines of scrimmage and more to come if everything goes the way it's planned. Why was it such an emphasis to go big numbers-wise on the lines?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, philosophically, it is a line of scrimmage football league, and I think the mentality of great teams and championship teams are dictated by the offensive and defensive line. And if you can't run the ball and you can't protect and you can't stop the run and pressure the passer in this league, it's going to be a long day at the office. So that, that's the first thing. I think anytime you get an opportunity to recruit the big guys who really, make all the difference in the game, that's the primary area of focus. And secondly, just, from a pure numbers perspective and a needs assessment, for a few classes here, we haven't really signed many offensive linemen that have made it to campus. So, I mean, we needed to sign something to get to our number one. And then you look at our senior class on the defensive line, where we're losing a significant number of players. So I think it's a combination of, philosophy and need.
To your point on the offensive line.
I can hear you with that.
Okay. On the offensive line, specifically with Charles Cross and Nick Penley, those are your last two guys that you picked up. Had to fight off some Power 5 schools, and especially with Charles Cross, the guy's been committed to Florida State for a while. Can you give a background of, I guess, how you built the relationship with Penley and Cross, and ultimately landed those two?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the initial, contact, we've been recruiting Charles for a little bit more time because he was in state. We've known about him for a very long time, and we just continue to stay in contact with him. And he made his decision to reopen his recruiting, and we really hadn't changed anything we've been doing the entire time. We just had the opportunity to get him up on campus, get him on an official visit, and ultimately, what we had to offer matched his criteria. And anytime that occurs, it usually makes for a good marriage. And certainly to get a player of his caliber from in-state on the offensive line, a four-star guy that could have gone just about anywhere in the country, I think that's a huge feather in our cap. And Charles, he's going to enroll mid-year, so that's going to be a huge thing. And then Nick, we kind of were recruiting him, throughout the year. Didn't know about him as long as Charles, but got him on campus for a couple games during the season. He was a good luck charm there, both wins, so that was a positive. And then, made the decision to go on ahead and offer him, and got the family up on an official visit. And I think that's a great thing about getting kids on campus in that capacity, that the school sells itself, and getting around our academic people, and seeing everything that we have to offer. Relative to a degree, getting around our players and them seeing our culture and how they fit in, and then our coaching staff as well. So that's kind of the difference in the recruitment between those two guys.
Looking at that group, is there anybody that you could foresee making an impact right away on next year's team with a few guys?
The O-line or the whole group?
Offensive line.
Offensive line, that's the one thing that you talk to all the recruits, and specifically our signees, that I can't guarantee them anything but an opportunity. And a coach who tells you you're going to come in and definitely start, I just don't believe in that, because you never know what's going to happen in the kids' development. You never know what's going to happen with players on your team, how they're going to improve. But they are all guaranteed an opportunity. Now, if they come in and show that they've earned the right to be on the 2 deep or be a starter, they'll play. And certainly some of those guys on the list are a little more better equipped to compete because of their physical maturation, or their understanding of the game, or their size, or their strength, or their physicality. But they'll all be given the same opportunity.
There's always obviously a lot of attention that goes to quarterbacks, but Garrett has been kind of committed things for a while. And what makes Garrett Schrader such a good fit for you and for Mississippi State and for your plans for the future?
I've been recruiting Garrett since he was a sophomore in high school, so it feels like a long time. But I think when you look at our offense and what we need from that position, a guy that can beat you with his arms, his legs, and his brain, I think Garrett checks off all those boxes. 2-time state champion. I believe they've lost 1 or 2 games in the last 3 years. 3-year starter, over 60% completions. Really impressive touchdown interception ratio. And you turn on this year's highlight tape. It's 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And you look at his junior one, and the first clip is him, breaking a run and hurdling the guy, and then he drops back and throws a post ball on a dime, and then scrambles to make plays. So I think he's very representative of our philosophy on offense, to be able to balance a run and the pass and have the quarterback beat you, with his arm and his legs. I think he's an excellent fit for our system.
Knoxville County High has been pretty good to state in recent times. Jeffrey alluded to get Kai Zaya out of there. Just how important does this staff view keeping that pipeline open there?
Yeah, I mean, critically important. And from, once again, I keep using the word philosophy, from a philosophical standpoint, our recruiting model is to work from inside out, you know, and do as good as we can in the state of Mississippi, work our footprint area, and then work the national areas. And the further we go away from the city of Starkville, the better the player should be. And certainly a player Kazai's, you know, ability, you know, from Knoxville County, you know, has been up here a bunch of times. You know, family, you know, bleeds maroon and white. So, like I said, it's another situation where his criteria matches what we have to offer. You know, he had a very big Miss-Al game. You know, kind of injured a little bit at the beginning of his senior season, but came on strong. And I think had 90 catches for over 1,000 yards as a junior. But he's a guy that, you know, has posted really, really impressive numbers on top of his physical attributes, and he's a real smart kid too. So I think he'll do an awesome job here.
Obviously, when you look at Jerry and Jones and JV's Purvis, they're kind of your typical do everything on the field type of guys. And Jerry had a higher ranking, but everybody considered Purvis pretty underrated with his ability. Where do you see those two guys playing and filling in? Will be where they're needed the most?
Yeah, I think, you know, Jar's going to start at corner, but I think he could play safety. He could play wide out. He could do a bunch of things. He'd probably take my job if he wanted to. I mean, he's got that kind of charisma. You know, people gravitate towards him. He's intelligent. He's well-spoken. You watch the Miss-Al game, you know, and watch any part of his season. You know, he can, in my opinion, he could be an all-SEC defensive back or an all-SEC receiver. And, you know, I think he's really the glue in a lot of ways that held this class together. So, you know, his contribution to us has already been significant in a lot of ways. And as you mentioned, and I think you hit the nail on the head, you know, JP coming out of Pelahatchie, you know, Sam Williams, his head coach, was a, you know, player here. But it's kind of, as much as you can this day and age with the access to information, has flown under the radar. But a big, long athlete, you know, has played a majority of his snaps on the offensive side of the ball. But he's another guy, you know, kind of reminds me of, you know, a kid from last year's class like Buki. You know, Buki played wide out, played tight end, you know, played linebacker, did a bunch of things. You know, I think JP can really see himself on either side of the ball. We're going to, you know, start him off on defense.
If I understand correctly, Garrett Schrader's supposed to be coming in the next couple of days to start practice.
Excuse me. Yes, sir.
What do you hope to get? Just get his feet wet in the system, get him in uniform, get him around the guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's and you talk about, you know, the qualities that you're looking for in a quarterback. You know, he loves the process and he loves the game. So any opportunity that he can find to help, you know, improve himself or make his game better, even if it's a small number of practices, he wants to take advantage of those things. And you know, that's what you want. You want the quarterback to be a guy that's able to, you know, lead from the front. You know, the term I've used with our players the past few practices is that the speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. And I believe that when your quarterback is that person, you know, the other people are going to follow suit. And he's a guy that kind of has those charismatic qualities to him. Like you watch him on the field, and, you know, the way he conducts himself. And to me, when the starting quarterback of your team walks in the room, you shouldn't have to ask if it's a starting quarterback. And when he and his beard walk in the room, you know, he's got a little bit of that, you know, borderline confidence, cockiness to him. You know, and you know, in a lot of ways, I think that's a good thing.
Outside of the 14 that you signed today, what other positions do you hope to address between now and February?
You know, we've got, I don't want to say all of them. I mean, we have, you know, positional needs relative to needs by number. So we have a list of guys that we're going to continue to recruit. And really who we take and ultimately sign is going to depend on, you know, how the numbers fall. And, you know, if we take a certain player at this position, you know, and we have a similar player ranked right below him, you know, you can't, also you can't take them both, but a lot of it falls on the contingency plan.
Do you have a rough number of how many you want to sign before February?
You know, between, you know, attrition, which I'm hoping there's not much, but, you know, usually that occurs after the bowl game. You know, I think I'd be remiss to put a hard number on it. You know, I have a range, but I don't, you know, to say specifically what the number is probably would be fair.
And to go back to the lines of scrimmage, a couple of important guys left on y'all's board on both sides. Is that a big priority to finish what you started at those spots?
Absolutely. We're going to continue to, you know, obviously we have, you know, a number of guys committed, and, you know, we're going to wait till February to sign, and, you know, we feel confident where we are.
With the loss of John and McLaurin in the back and defensive backfield, talk about the importance of getting a guy like Greg Peters.
I mean, that guy, I mean, you talk about a guy who loves to play the game of football. You runs the alley, physical, hits, can cover, and he's seasoned. Anytime you're playing at Jones or a program of that caliber, and you've got a couple years of college football under your belt, you're ready to come in and kind of step into play. And Coach Shoup has talked already about our thought process of reloading rather than rebuilding, and I think when you have guys like that can come in and play a bunch of football at a high level, it makes that learning curve a little less steep.
Had two seniors in running back this year, and then didn't get one in the class last year. Getting one was obviously big, but just to get one as heralded as Lee was in Alabama, what did that mean for this class in the future at that position?
Yeah, we kind of 4 to 5 is a scholarship at that position, and that's kind of a rough number, I guess. But when you look at that guy, what Lee's done, I mean, he didn't switch over until running back until his senior year. But they're really, it'd be hard pressed to replicate these numbers on Madden at rookie level. I mean, it's really ridiculous. I mean, almost 3,000 yards, 19.7 a carry, 60 touchdowns. And those are like road to glory NCAA, 14 numbers. So hopefully he can do that here.
All right, that is. On that video game note, that's it.
You're on top of your instant